Hey guys, my name is Renee, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my story. So before I knew Christ, I was completely lost. I was enslaved to the opinions and the approval of other people, and that played out in a lot of different areas and affected a lot of different areas in my life. And so one of those areas was academics. I found my worth in my grades, and if I didn't do what I thought was good enough for other people, I was really, really hard on myself, and I lived a lot of my life being overly stressed and anxious about school and grades and all those things. Another way that really played out in my life was that I would do anything to fit in. I wanted the approval and the acceptance of friends, of boys, and so I would sacrifice parts of who I was. I wasn't true to myself, wasn't my true self. Because I wanted the approval of other people, and I thought that's what I needed to do to get it. And so that dire need for approval really affected my self-image too, because I knew I wasn't perfect. I knew I had flaws and faults. And so I had a really poor image of who I was because of that, because I wasn't always getting the 100% perfect approval of others. And so this was exhausting. Living my life for other people and for their opinions and approval was tiring and draining, and it wasn't until I began to learn and hear about having a personal relationship with Jesus that this began to change. So I knew about Jesus. I knew that God created me and that He loved me. I knew that I was a sinner and that Jesus died on the cross for me, but I didn't understand or had never heard about the idea of having a personal relationship with Him. And so once I began to hear about that, I began to understand His love more fully, that He fully knows me, every part of me, and that He cares for me, He adores me, and He desires to have an intimate relationship with me. And so when I heard these things, I didn't really understand why no one had told me this before, but I knew I wanted it. And so I cried out to Jesus, and I asked Him into my life. I entrusted my life to Him, and I said, I want a personal, intimate relationship with You. And so that's where my life completely changed. So after making that decision, to have a relationship with Jesus, I was no longer exhausted by living my life for other people. I served a perfect God rather than broken people, and that motivated me to live my life for Him rather than for others. So I began to grow and realize that Jesus accepted each broken part of me. He knew every imperfection of mine so deeply, yet He loved me and delighted in me. And that I could be my imperfect self rather than trying to be someone that I wasn't. So now I don't want you to think that having a relationship with Jesus just completely fixed this and that everything was perfect afterwards, because that would be a lie. It was still messy, and I still struggled with wanting the approval of other people, but rather than exhausting myself and wearing myself out in that, I could recognize and remind myself of my hope in Jesus, and in the truth that He loves me and cares for me regardless of my imperfections. So still to this day, I find myself doing things for the approval of other people, but Jesus is my hope, and now I have complete freedom in who He is, rather than being enslaved by the opinions of other people.